All right, welcome everyone to the December Board of Directors meeting for Delta Amateur Radio Club. First off, on the agenda, we'll talk about the potluck dinner for next week. So Scott, you said that you've got everything ready to go for the hams.
Do we need to do 2 hams, 1 ham, 1 large ham, 2 hams?
It sounded like at least 30 people or so raised their hands. I would think two hams.
2 hams. I went ahead and picked up some coffee. I can't remember. I got Diet Coke, and I'm going to go ahead and say that I'm going to get some paper plates. I just don't know if we have any from last time. That's something.
There's a bunch in there.
There's a bunch of them in there.
Yeah.
Do we need to get holiday plates, or does it matter?
I don't think it does, but what do you guys think?
I'm just asking.
Yeah, if they're on sale.
Well, Sam's has whatever, so it's like it's gonna be Sam. So so if I'm off, the timing would probably be closer to 5:30. Depends on how the hams will probably take about 3.5 hours. So that puts me at cooking them about 1. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 5, so about 1:30, 2 o'clock. So 3.5 hours for the ham to cook, and then I'll be out there and we'll plan for the tables. And am I forgetting anything? Anyone? I mean, granted, everyone's bringing sweets, right? All cakes and pies and chocolate, fudge.
Hopefully, we'll see.
Paper cups and utensils, plastic.
We have cups of all sorts. So most of our drinks will be cold for the most part. We'll have coffee, our usual suspects on drinks. Utensils we should have plenty of from previous past.
Okay.
And napkins we have plenty of. That's all I know. So unless anyone has any comments or suggestions, or just whoever gets there. I take it we're not having training, are we?
Correct.
Okay, so no one's going to get there early. So whoever gets there early besides me, just make sure that we have ice. And just if we don't, please let me know. That way we can, because we don't like to drink our Diet Coke hot. But that's all I have, unless someone has anything different.
Sounds good. Well, again, if there's anything I need to help with that, let me know.
Just I'll show up early a little bit if you can. It'd be helpful.
Yeah. And I have not checked in as consistently with the nets, but from what I have heard, it seems like most of the net control operators or someone has been doing a good job of reminding everyone that there's no Zoom link for this week or for this month. And then of course the potluck dinner and everything. So hopefully that will be good. Let's see. All right, looks like Joe's getting logged in. The deal.
Yeah, he's been having trouble, so he had to reboot his computer.
Oof.
So he should be coming up.
Well, mine, I know. I logged in, of course, on the Delta Club link, but there was took probably 5 minutes to let me log in because it was updating and this and that. So I don't know. But all right, well, welcome, Joe. All right, you're muted. Hey, Joe, you're muted.
Computer tried to keep logging in on another session for some reason.
Oh, man. Well, we waited a few minutes, and for the most part, Scott just said that we'll do 2 hams, and he should have it. He's hoping to be there around 5:30 or so. And of course, we just talked about again, there's no testing next week. And so we'll just keep announcing that on the net. All right, so the end of year awards, new ham of the year. I think last month we talked about the possibility. Well, actually, all right. So if there's no objection, I would like to take us into a recess and pause the recording while we're in the recess. So is there any objection to a recess? All right. All right, so that wasn't too long of a recess. Thank you, everybody. So what I was thinking for the meeting, with the way it was, still open it at 7, so that way we could vote on the minutes and treasurer's report. There's a few announcements to make, I'm sure, with everything going on, and I'm sure Joe can announce the upcoming extra class. We'll let everybody know about Swamp Stompers coming up, things like that. But other than that, we'll be done to be able to eat. And then at some point after most folks have gone through and gotten their food and eaten, then we can get into the awards and recognition. So kind of the general template of these types of events. But does that sound good to you guys? Like it would work well with what we've got planned?
Sounds good to me.
So should I put for the program that we're going, it'll be awards, or do you want to, or just say no program?
If we put one, either say no program, or I would say even just say potluck dinner with awards.
Potluck dinner and awards.
Yeah.
Do you want me to put in the invitation email about, we're going to be supplying 2 hams, so bring sides and dessert, put that on the invite as well as put it in Sparks?
I think it wouldn't hurt to say it twice, and I can, I've already started working on typing up something. Oh, good, Lynn's here. I've already started working on typing up something for you. So if you want to plan on that, allowing that space, I'll get you something written out, so that way we've got it mentioned.
So there'll be no Zoom. It'll be a potluck dinner and awards. No FCC testing.
Correct.
Gotcha.
Correct. So.
All right.
Hope they arrive hungry and get ready to see everybody. So, let's see. Anything else that we need to discuss as far as the December meeting goes? All right. So, new business, because in last year when we redid the bylaws, we had it in there that the treasurer have a proposed budget for the upcoming year by the December board meeting. And Jim again is under the weather today, so let me share my screen. And this is not accurate, probably. I'm sure he'll do some adjusting and everything, but again, the whole point for this was just to get something on paper in case there was a new treasurer, and that way it gave the incoming treasurer something to work with. So again, I don't want to spend a whole lot of time on it. I'm sure we could, because I know we'll break it down next month, but just here is a proposed budget for next year. So the proposed budget, most everything it looks like is going to be the same, and I'm sure he'll do some fine tuning. Really the main difference is down here at the CDs is, of course, we no longer have the 2 CDs or the 1 CD, and we've got 2 new CDs, one for the 5,000 and one for the 11,000 that we had rounded up from that. So again, I would certainly prefer to talk more in detail about this next month, but does anybody, I guess, have any questions or anything we need to suggest to him when creating the proposed budget for next year?
Are we voting on this or is this just a
Nope.
proposal and
It
that's
is
it?
just, it's, I don't think, from what I remember in the bylaws, we don't have to pass it or anything. It's just, there has to be a proposed budget by the December board meeting, and then
Okay.
January is when we have to, he would bring it forward as the actual budget. We would vote on it, and then it goes to the club and all that.
Is it pretty close to last year's budget?
Yes.
Then I think is it, and I haven't had a chance to review it. I'm just asking questions now. Is it the same dollar amount or or lower dollar amount or upper dollar amount?
It's the same, except for the checking account and the certificate of deposits, the two new ones that we just created.
Well, that's right.
in
Well,
November.
we just reinvested what we had into CDs, right? And
Correct.
added to it.
Yeah,
We-
because what we did is, I think it was like 10,000, what, 900 something. And we decided in the meeting, instead of taking it back down to 10,000, since we were good with what was in the checking account, just to round it up. So I think we had to pull like, maybe it was $28 or it was under $50, I think, out of our checking to make it an even 11,000. So we already have
I wouldn't even
25.
I wouldn't get into a lot of detail like that on a budget. I would just, if it's the same dollars as it has been and we hadn't moved any from this one to that one and so forth, I would do that and just say we did reinvest the CDs. They were 10,000. We now have it at 11,000. I don't think less than $50 out of the checking account's going to be if somebody catches that, I really want to see them. Well, I've known people that do that, but
I don't think we should even go that far. We
I
show
do
them what
too.
the two CDs are.
Yeah.
I mean, the budget is showing us the same amount of money. I guess, Barry, do you need more than $1,000? You think?
You know better than to ask me that.
Do you want to allow for inflation, especially for the Huntsville bus trip? Because this past year it was much more than the previous year.
Oh,
You may when we get down to the nitty gritty of the budget, but what we really will probably end up doing is just moving money around if it is. So the bottom line, you could get the argument of how many Coca-Colas are you going to buy as opposed to Diet Colas that may be a dime cheaper. You know, you don't have to get into that. I agree with what Joe's saying, exactly what I'm saying. You just don't need to get that detailed in it. Here's the budget. It's the same as last year.
It's not 100% wash. So it's not even $3,000. It hadn't been $300. So, you know, that's.
But gasoline at Costco this week's $2.57. It was almost $5 this year. You know, when the buses were going out, the cost of gas was a lot more expensive, so it may wash itself out.
Yep. Good deal.
all right.
For a number of years, we didn't have even a line for a Huntsville trip.
Yeah.
And I
Yeah.
don't think we spend the whole budget every year anyway, do we?
No, not really. I mean, yeah, gotta go back and look at the COVID when refreshments hit and we went Zoom.
Yeah.
I'd like to see what the actuals are versus the budget.
Yeah.
See if
I like
Jim
to do
can.
that.
Yeah, that would be nice for the board to see it. You know, it's good to see, because I think what you end up doing is just moving money from here to there. And realistically, I would say the budget's pretty stable, other than if we have a lot of sales of equipment. that are donated to the club, that's where we've gotten our big money from.
Mm, yeah, that's for sure.
Mhm.
But I
Well,
don't
I'm
think.
sure, I'm sure we'll have more details again, next month, but,
This
I
is
mean,
a budget. A budget's only a guess. It's as
Yeah.
good as anything.
yeah. But I can, when cause I'll have to email him here. Once we'll talk about the church, the donation to the church in a minute. So I'm gonna have to email him regardless on follow up for that. So I can just mention to him that, I mean, I'm sure he was planning on it anyway, but next month we look forward if he can present some of the actual numbers. Which I think he did last year with, I can't remember. But this keeps us as a board and him as a treasurer in check for what we're supposed to do with having that just pulled together as a rough budget. So
And he probably, all he has to do is push a button to bring the actuals in here.
probably. All right, and then the other thing, let's see, treasurer's report. He emailed it to everybody. So we've got $19,800 $3.17 as the ending balance for the checking account. There were 2 deposits, one a $5 deposit. I'm assuming that's from maybe the ARRL commission. And
You
then
want to
we
share a
had-
screen?
Oh, yes, thank you. That would help you guys, wouldn't it? All right. So again, the balance $19,803.17. Deposit on November 1st of $5, which I assume would be the ARRL commission fee. On the 29th, there was a deposit of $180, which more than likely was membership renewal fees. Yeah, down there. Let's see. Some checks were written, and we'll look at the breakdown down at the bottom. Let's see in the summary. So 2 CDs. Again, the $5,000. We went and it was issued on October 28th, and it already has $10.32.
I'm going to have to step away for a minute.
Okay. So the small business CD of 5,000, and then of course the 11,000. And again, that's where I mentioned earlier, because we had decided at the board meeting, instead of knocking it back down to 10,000 and then starting a new CD, because again, we started the new CD instead of letting it roll over, because the interest rate was a much better interest rate by starting a new CD instead of letting it just roll over. So in that process, we decided to round it up. Again, I think it was $20 or so, maybe, or 28, I think. So that way it's an even 11,000. And then, so if we have to, we won't, from what I recall, if we had to, like if we had something happen to the repeater and we needed that $5,000, since it was such a short, I think a 13-month maturity date, then we would not be penalized any money, but we would just simply lose the interest earned. So let's see. So it looks like they're doing pretty well considering. And then here is the report. So we had 3 new memberships, 6 membership renewals, and that would account for the total $180 deposit that was made. The commission renewal of $5 would account for that. So $185 in deposits were made. There were no withdrawals, which there normally are not. But then the checks, let's see, Neshoba, it was finally cashed and processed for where we reimbursed them for the CPR class for our 3 members. And then he reimbursed, wrote a check to reimburse Scott for the meeting refreshments. and then Bob Balder for the website renewal. And Bob did mention that he noticed the website renewal went up significantly. And I know on mine, it looks like it's about to go up significantly when it renews. So I think that's because of COVID, probably. All the online sites are going up with their renewal fees. But let's see. Are there any questions that I could probably answer? Or that anyone here could answer about this treasurer's report?
Just for FYI, next year I will be having to renew the club license W4BS. And I don't know what month it is that it's due, but you know, that's what, 30, 40 bucks, whatever.
35.
Yeah. So anyway, that should be it.
Okay.
I just gotta be on time.
You can do it 90 days ahead of time.
All right. I'm sure if we do have any questions, I'm sure we could hopefully ask him next week if he's feeling well enough to be at the meeting, because we certainly don't want to encourage anybody to come to the meeting if they're not feeling well. Let's see. And then he also sent the applications, but I'm going to let Carolyn get to that a little later. So, all right. So the next thing. Let's see. Share. Okay. So the next thing on the agenda, the annual donation to the church. So in the past, we have, since the Ellendale Church of Christ allows us to use their facility so frequently, because we use it not only for the meetings, we use it for testing beforehand. We've had other events there, trainings, training, testing, things like that. And then of course we also have that closet that we're able to store everything in. Typically, and I think everybody here knows because everybody served last year, but typically there's a donation that we make at the end of the year, just kind of as a thank you to the church for allowing us to use the facility and everything. And I'm sure it helps them out quite a bit for any expenses that we might incur as well. So, all right. With that, is there any objection to doing a donation again? And if so, or if there's not an objection to that, do we want to stick with the 300 or do we want to consider anything different?
When did we raise it up to 300?
It was while I was secretary.
Okay.
I can't remember what it was, but it's been within the past few years we raised it to 300.
Is that in the budget?
Uh,
I was just inflation.
meeting space donation. Oh, good point. Well, 300. So maybe it was 2019 that we did that, because 2019 it was 300 ever since then.
Doesn't matter to me. I mean, we do a lot for the church, so.
Yeah.
What do we do for the church?
Well, I did replace it. For me, I did some few things. I've replaced the exit sign lights and all the exit lights on the first floor and the second floor. So just something that when we go in the meeting place, at least that's something I did. And granted, the club paid for the exit lights or the lamps to put in those.
Okay.
So the only reason.
Just look at what so little membership that they have there and what such
Right.
large facilities. You couldn't get meeting place like what we get with storage and pretty much
Right.
free reign for $300. And
Yeah.
if we've got it, I would say if anything, they would be the ones that an increase would be well spent.
So 350?
Well, do we want, all right, so 350 is on the table. Do we want to raise it $50?
I was thinking 400 or 500.
Oh,
Yeah,
yeah.
I was almost thinking 500 too, but I thought that was.
Why don't we do this to keep it from being put in stone? Give them 300 now, and then maybe in a couple of months, give them 100 or 200.
That's a good way of doing it. But that doesn't mean that every year we got to give them, if we give them $500, we got to give them $500.
I mean,
We can have a bad year like, well, I'm not going to talk about the things that could go wrong. But they could have, I look for that church not to last very long.
Well, do we,
350.
I mean, that's what I was going to think. Do we want to consider maybe doing 350 and then later on, say add an extra 100 or 150, like you're saying, several months down the road, we
Yeah.
can say, hey, here's some extra money to go towards
Utilities.
utilities or something,
I'd say do it at 300 and then give them 100 or 150 or 200 or whatever we want to do down the road, but that keeps it from inflating this year.
Well, I do for sure think that we need to at least stick with the 300, and definitely not lower it. So I guess,
It doesn't bother me as long as we're gonna come back and give them some more money later. It's 50 cents one way, a half a dollar the other, as far as I'm concerned.
I move that we give them 300.
all right, is there a
In
second?
December.
I'll second it.
All right, so Joe made the motion that we donate 300 to the church. Carolyn seconded that motion. All those in favor say aye or raise your hand.
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no or raise your hand. All right, it unanimously passes. Yeah, and I'll put it on my calendar. How far do we want to wait, like 3 months to talk about this again, or do we want to wait about half a year? How far along do we want to go before we bring this up again?
I'd say a couple of months.
I need 90 days. 90 days. Put on the calendar for 90 days.
Sounds good.
First quarter of the year.
Okay. Well, I will email if it works for you, Joe. What I thought we might could do, I can email if you don't mind writing a letter, since you've got a closer connection to the folks of the church. Then I can get Jim to cut the check and get it to you. Because I know it was delayed last time, but I'd like to see if we could try to do that. Maybe
Well, I can send him a copy of the letter, and he can
do that.
He can send it from his
Oh, I
house.
thought you took it to the
Okay.
people, whoever it was.
No,
Okay,
I'm pretty sure we mailed it last year.
send him the letter and let him mail it.
All right. Well, if you don't mind doing that, then sending him the letter, and then I will email him tonight and let him know to be on the lookout to mail it, so that way that's done, and we'll get that taken care of. And then, like I said, I'll bring it up, and don't let me forget, but I will put it on my calendar to bring that up in a couple months to talk about an additional donation. All All right. So just wanted to check in with everybody. We don't have much transition. John and Perry are not here, so we won't be too worried about vice president, though that doesn't have near as much to switch over as secretary. So sounds like y'all are going to get most of it handled next week. But other than that, do you guys need anything else from us, or if you need any support to get things switched over, let us know. But is everything going well with that?
I reviewed my manual and everything that I'm going to hand over, and it's all up to date. So the only thing that will be missing is the December potluck report. And so I'll just email that to all of you, and Paul can hopefully print them off and add it to the binder. So.
Sure.
Mhm.
And do we always have a minutes of the potluck?
Well,
Well,
we'll still have a business portion of the meeting.
Okay.
So I mean,
Yeah.
it'll be a very short thing, and then I think in the past we listed who got the awards or who was recognized. Which more than likely, Carolyn, I know once I get my list typed up for the YL NCOs, I don't mind emailing it to you just so you're not having to retype it again, and you can copy and paste it.
Okay.
And then you probably already have the list of Joe's. So
Yeah, I do.
yeah, I mean, so that it should be a pretty easy set of minutes to
Yep.
wind down the year.
Yep.
So, but yeah, that's why, Lynn. It's just there will
Okay.
be a very short business portion.
I forgot about that. It's been so long since we had it.
I know it's been a while. So all right. Well, again, if y'all need anything else, and then Paul, as you get adjusted, you're in great hands with Carolyn, I'm sure. But if you do have any questions as you get going, even if it's 6 months in and you've got questions, don't hesitate to let us know, or say, hey, hold on, can you, repeat that or whatnot. We'll do everything we
Sure.
can to help you.
Absolutely. Yeah.
That's good. I've read through the stuff Carolyn's given me already, and I got a few questions, but I'll hit you up next week when we get together. Nothing major.
Okay. All right.
All right, and though something real quick to let you guys know, we'll talk more about it several months down the road when it's time, but Tulio from Bluff City Blues Bike Ride reached out and said that they actually set the date for the bike ride this year for September 30th, 2023, which is the last Saturday in September. And he asked if, because normally it's the first weekend in October, but he asked if we'd be interested in helping again. And I told him that we would be. So I'm sure we'll get more information as we get closer, but that always seems like it's a really good ride, and everybody who helps out seems to have a good time with that. So it was exciting to have them already reach out to us this early, I thought. But let's see. All right, Lynn, do you have anything for us?
Nothing.
All right.
I hope as the year goes along, we do have something to go by.
Yeah, Carolyn.
I do. So these are the membership applications I received from Jim. We have 3 new member requests. Charlie Faraci, WM4CWH, who is a general. It says he joined in the 60s, so I guess he's coming back. So he checked off new member and renewal, but he wouldn't be on the list anymore, so we'll put him as new. Robert O'Grady, KO4ZCJ, technician. His preferred nickname is Bob.
Correction on that, it's general now.
Oh, it's general? Okay. All right.
He passed last night.
Wow, great. Congratulations to him. Chris Peaks, KI50CB, technician. It's for 2022, 2023. John Duty, KK4LST for 2023. He's a renewal, of course. Jim Martin, Katie4 FUU for 2023. Joe Plunk, NS4E for 2023. Brad Webster, KC4WEB for 2023. And Warren Zimmer, KC7ND for 2023. And Scott Adams, KM4PMU for 2024. I know, Scott, you're paid up for 2023. I have you down for that. So we'll get you a new membership card for 2024. None of these are family memberships that I can see. They're all single and everyone paid the full price. So do we want to vote to accept these as new members and renewals?
So move.
Okay,
All right, so Joe made the motion to accept the applications. Is there a second? Barry,
Second.
W5CJ seconded it. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, say no. All right, it unanimously passes. Good.
I had one more thing. On the spreadsheet, I did add a tab for silent keys. So when I send that off to you, you'll notice that tab. I think it's number 6, maybe number 7. And if you notice anybody else on the master list that has become a silent key, would you please let me or Paul know? We can move them over to that tab. Appreciate it. Thanks.
Sounds good.
That's all I have. Thank you.
So something I thought I meant to bring this up earlier and I forgot. I briefly talked about it with Paul because I had, when I was secretary, I had some recorders from when I was a journalist. So I had that stuff readily available. And I know it's been a little bit different on Zoom, but is there any objection if I went and got like a, what are they, $5 to $10 now or something? Just those small little recorders for the secretary to pass on from secretary to secretary. Would anybody have an objection with me going to do that for that position?
Well, Mary Jean, I bought one
You
recently.
did buy one?
would
I
take
use
that
my
for a go-to.
iPhone. You can use your iPhone for that very, very neatly, and it works very nicely.
Well, I mean, you're right. You can. I just know with my iPhone at the time, I had to end up paying for extra storage, like anytime I use recordings and videos and all that stuff. Which I didn't, it wasn't because of Delta Club, but if I'd hate for Paul may be fine and Carolyn and I may have made it work, but I'd hate for somebody to come along and not have space or not have a smartphone or whatnot, and I don't know. But okay, well, if you're good, we can talk about it later then.
Just a thought.
Yeah. You are right though. It picks up pretty well. When we've done Zoom meetings and had all the issues, I've used my iPhone this year a few times for a backup recording. So it's not perfect, but it does have pretty good spatial.
Well, I wasn't saying either that you need to keep the recording on your phone forever. Just use it to help you with the minutes.
Yeah.
Because you usually have a recording of the meeting anyway, don't you?
Well, but if we're not doing, so
you're
I'm
not doing
trying to
Zoom.
work on it for next year, but if we don't do Zoom next year, then we won't have that recording that way.
Yeah, I had one of my own I was going to bring, but then we started on Zoom, so I never had to use it. But
Well, we
it
can-
wasn't my iPhone. It was a separate
They're
device.
cheap.
So
Yeah, they're not expensive.
Recorders are
that was
cheap.
going to be my next question. Yeah, how much?
Let's see. All right.
But I get what you're saying. I think it's a good idea if you're not going to have Zoom to have that.
Oh, you got to do that.
Either
You
way.
gotta have it.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah.
Because I'll probably bring this up again later because this is one thing I was really wanting to do this year and I didn't quite get to do it, but I still would like to work on the checklist stuff, and like getting the equipment together to make sure we've got everything we need. Cause I know a lot of us have used for different things, especially with the secretary, maybe the treasurer, certain months, but especially the secretary. I think everybody's pretty much, and then, well, Joe, and he's got that printer, but going in and using a lot of their own ink for printing off the rosters. Because each time we have sign-in rosters, that's anywhere from like 12 or more pages. I think back then at some point we were printing out about 18 pages, and then when you start printing out handouts and membership application forms and all that, I mean, I know it's not bad and most of us are fine, but I don't know, that's just one thing on the list. I'm going to try to work through and see if there's anything we need to do differently, because we may be fine. And I mean, I've actually got 2 printers in the house, so I was fine, but the next person may not be, and I certainly don't want not having a printer and not wanting to take on that expense to be a reason somebody says no to a job. But I don't know. But again, that'll be later. So if you've got something that you're thinking that it might be better where you're good, but maybe the next person who comes along might not be, I would like to talk about that later on when we've got a little bit more time. Mike, you got anything for us?
No, I'm just, working on the Sparks, getting it ready to try to get out Saturday or Sunday. So I think
Okay.
I've got everything I need. No Zoom meeting. Potluck dinner and awards. I'm going to put the 2 hams and bring sides and desserts with no FCC testing.
Do you want us to go on and send you any updated bios, or do you want to wait till January to do that? Which really the main difference is going to be getting something, I guess, from Paul and Perry.
Yeah. Yeah. I imagine I can just move John's stuff over. Yeah. I mean, whatever. If they want to go ahead and send it, that would be good. I'll try to work on it, during the Christmas break.
Okay. Scott.
Everything has been discussed. Does anyone know what's going on? So
Sounds good. Barry.
Well, as far as I know, everything's running pretty smooth right now. So thank you.
Oh, thank you.
Thank you.
Joe.
We just finished the general class last night. Had 4 people test, 3 passed. There were about 7 that finished the class. One of them was thinking the test was tonight for some reason. And I don't know about the other 2. But anyway, we've got 3. I'm trying to plan a extra class if we get at least 6 students in the extra class starting in January. I've got to get with the instructors to see if they want it weeknight or on a Saturday for 4 hours before I actually finish the article this week. And that's all that I have going. And then after that, probably start a tech class after I finish the extra class.
Sounds good.
Is
And
the
then
extra class going to
Free
be
Fest
on?
is scheduled for, I think, April the 8th.
Free Fest.
I believe it's the 2nd Saturday of April.
All right, good deal.
Yeah, April 8th.
Paul, do you have anything for us?
I don't think so. I'm just trying to get ready to take over.
Good deal.
Thank you, Paul.
No
Yes,
problem.
thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Yes, thank you. It's not too bad once you get your feet wet and all that. So it definitely gets into a routine.
Yeah.
Let's see. All right. So that covers everybody. We did the treasurer stuff earlier. Okay. So again, just a reminder, the upcoming events we've got next week, no testing. We've got the potluck dinner. We'll still start at 7, and then Saturday on the 14th. If Steve is there, I'm sure he'll talk more about Swamp Stompers being on Saturday the 14th. And then thank you, Joe, for letting
Of
us know about
January.
Free Fest. Yeah, January 14th for Swamp Stompers. And then of course Free Fest in April on the 8th. So does anybody else have anything else that we need to cover before we go?
It's been a
Okay.
pleasure serving.
Thank you for being willing to serve.
Yep.
Thank you,
Enjoyed it,
Carolyn.
Carolyn. Yes, thank
Well,
you.
hope you don't come to the meetings anymore.
Oh, I'm gonna come. I'm gonna come. But I
Good.
wish you all the best, the whole board for next year.
Thank you. You got big shoes to fill, Paul.
Oh, he's gonna be great.
Oh, I'm sure. All right. Well, if there's no is there an objection to adjourning? All right, hearing no objection, we are adjourned. That's 7:29.
Thanks, everybody.